Get your win at WallaceWins.com.
Oh, yeah. Are you hyped? It's 2025. I know I'm hyped. Welcome back to the WallaceWins.com podcast, where we talk about the biggest legal wins, the people behind them, and everything in between. I'm Bradley Wallace, founder and president of the Wallace Firm. And today, ladies and gentlemen, today we have a special one. Not only is this our first episode of 2025, but the Wallace Firm is celebrating a major milestone. For the first time in the firm's history, we have named a partner, and I'm thrilled to introduce him today. He's a powerhouse in the courtroom, a leader in our law firm, and someone that I've had the privilege of working with for the last 4+ years here at the Wallace Firm, a man who's been practicing law and trying cases in courtrooms throughout California for over 10 years. Please welcome to the WallaceWins.com studio our podcast guest today and newest partner of the Wallace Firm, Mr. Thomas Burns.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Excited to do the podcast. Obviously thrilled about the partnership, but we'll talk about that soon, I'm sure.
Yes, welcome. You've had to see a lot of podcast guests come through, and today's the day. I'm summoning you.
I've heard a lot of yelling, and I'm on the other end of the office.
I'm sure it gets a little crazy in the WallaceWins.com podcast studio. So, buckle up, get ready, folks. And again, congrats, Tom.
Thank you.
I'm really proud to welcome you as a partner at the firm. It's certainly well-deserved. It's certainly something that you've earned. And we're going to get into all that. But first, if you're a fan of the podcast, you know what's next, folks. Before we get into anything serious, of course, we got to start off with rapid fire. Who's ready for the first rapid fire of 2025? All right, you know the drill, Tom. I'm sure you've seen the clips on Instagram.
Bring it on.
Morning person or night owl?
Definitely a morning person. I go to bed early.
Go-to coffee order?
Pretty simple. Americano, little cream and a Splenda.
Biggest pet peeve in the courtroom?
In the courtroom, it's people being late. Lately, remote appearances is people not knowing how to mute their phones, mute their laptops. It drives me nuts.
The non-muters?
Yeah.
Coolest place you've ever been?
I would say Punta Mita, my honeymoon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Never been there. Got to put it on my bucket list. Best sport to watch?
I'd say football.
Football, that's an easy one. No brainer. Best sport to play?
Basketball.
All right. I've seen Tom on the court. He's got a sweet little J. Movie you've seen more than any other?
Probably one of the Avengers movies. It's kind of embarrassing.
Go-to favorite cuisine?
I'd say cheeseburger. I love Habit Burger, In-N-Out.
There you go. Simple guy. Most peaceful time of the day when you're not sleeping?
It's probably 5:30 in the morning to about 6:15. It's the only time when I'm the only one up in the house.
Coolest event you have ever attended?
I went to a soccer game in Florence, and that was probably one of the more exciting things, seeing European soccer.
Best city you've ever lived in?
San Diego.
Best compliment you've ever received?
That I'm a great dad.
There you go. That's the only one you ever need. Favorite activity outside of work?
Golf.
What are you listening to right now?
Bill Simmons, Pardon My Take, the guys at Barstool. Those are probably the two main ones.
Got it. And obviously the WallaceWins.com podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Window or aisle seat?
Aisle.
No hesitation. Before trying a big case, what is your pump-up song?
Said I didn't listen to very much music. I don't have a pump-up song. I like to keep it even keel.
Cool as a cucumber. First job you ever had?
Summer camp counselor in Malibu.
What is something people don't know about you?
I come from a big family. My mom is one of 9. My dad is one of 8. I'm one of 4. I have over 50 cousins.
Wow.
My wife is one of 6. I have 2 kids of my own and a third one on the way.
Best piece of career advice you ever received?
Old saying in my family, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
And that has been Rapid Fire. Well done, dude. Well done. See, it's just, you get into the flow. We do the rapid fire to start just to kind of like get everybody warmed up, get a little comfortable, hear themselves on the microphone a little bit. But, really today is about having you on as a guest to talk about, the big news and the big announcement of you becoming a partner at the firm. So why don't you give our audience a little insight into how you feel about stepping into the role as partner at the firm and what your initial reactions were when we talked about it and moved forward with the plan.
Well, first of all, I'm really honored. It's really shows the firm's investment in me over the last few years, and it's a reward for the work that I've put in. I'm excited for the future. I'm excited to get into the more business side of the firm, making firm decisions, deciding what directions we want to go. So I would just say honored, grateful, excited.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel the same. And, obviously we've had a lot of discussions about this outside of the podcast, but we wanted to do something special with the podcast to incorporate into the partnership announcement because it is a big deal. It's a big deal for you. It's a big deal for me. It's a big deal for the firm. And ultimately, I think it's going to be a really big deal for our clients and for the people that we serve and for the work that we do on the cases. And so it's just great all the way around. And as I mentioned in the introduction, you've been with the firm for almost 5 years. You've been practicing law in California, trying cases for over 10. But can you give our viewers a little bit of insight into your journey, how you got here, what led you into, kind of this area of practice and what's led up to this point where you're at in your career?
Yeah, well, it's been a long time coming to get to this point. Obviously, 10 years. It really, when I knew I wanted to be a personal injury attorney before law school, I was working for my uncle who actually does product liability defense, and he's a trial attorney, a BOTA member, well-known in the community.
Give him a shout out.
Alex Calfo.
Shout out, Alex.
Has tried cases against the best. Everybody's familiar with him. But I saw the other side of what he was doing, saw him do some trial work, and I said, I want to do the plaintiff side work. So obviously did the law school, graduated in December 2013, took the bar February, passed. When I first took the bar, the legal market for personal injury attorneys was really dry. It was very difficult for me to find a job. My first job was in Newport Beach. I had to move to a new city, and it was a temporary job. I was taking the place of a attorney who was going on maternity leave. She came back. The firm didn't have the work for me, and then I was kind of stranded again for another 4 or 5 months. I just could not find a job. I was sending out 5 to 10 to 20 applications a day, trying to find anything I could get.
Wow.
Ended up doing some 1099 work for a firm. That was where I tried my first case. I did 2 jury trials at that place, second chaired a bench trial. That was plaintiff personal injury, but I, finally got the opportunity to get a real job as a full-time employee for a lemon law firm, and I did that for a year. Didn't really love it. Still wanted to do plaintiff personal injury, but couldn't really find a path there after having done the lemon law thing. So I actually ended up doing insurance defense.
Right.
Did that.
Which a lot of plaintiff attorneys started out doing.
Yeah. And, I did it for a year and a half, and I enjoyed it. I worked on big commercial policies. I worked with big names, a lot of money at stake. But after doing it for about a year and a half, learning the ins and outs, I wanted to go back to doing plaintiff work, and I had an opportunity, and I took it. So then I went to go work for another solo practitioner. That firm mostly did product liability, plaintiff product liability. And then I decided to make the switch to here, and it's been 5 years, and obviously a lot of different firms. I've seen a lot of different ways people operate their businesses.
Right.
And it feels good to have found a home and have been here for this long.
Awesome. Going back to what you said originally, I think you started out kind of talking about that you knew in law school that you wanted to do plaintiff personal injury. Where do you think that came from? Because I can't say for myself that I had any kind of degree of certainty to that level in law school. So I'm curious to know what it was, if you can pinpoint it back then that had you pointed in that direction.
Yeah, to be, heartfelt about it, I wanted to help injured people. And that seemed like, this area of law seemed like the best place to be able to do that and have a successful financial career. Mm-hmm. So it was really the best of both worlds. And that's how I knew.
Got it. Yeah. And those are, two big aspects about what the practice is about, let me just ask you this. Obviously, we've talked about the fact that you've been with the firm, nearly 5 years, and it's been, cool for me to see your journey. You've grown so much within your own practice and within the firm during that time. And obviously, you and I have tried a lot of cases together, been in the courtroom and been in the trenches and fought a lot of battles together on a lot of cases. But in thinking about your time thus far at the firm, can you talk about some of the successes that you've had personally, professionally, with the firm, with cases that really kind of stick out to you and are things that you think about and are proud of?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of cases, it's really my favorite cases are the ones where you're working with a defense attorney who just doesn't see the case you do at all, doesn't understand the liability, thinks the damages are weak, and over the course of time, you're able to, through depositions, through meet and confers, through discovery, a bunch of letters, whatever it takes, you get them to see your side, and they tell the carriers that they need to pay on the case.
Right.
There was a wrongful death case we had at the very beginning of my time that I first picked up, and it was a confidential settlement, but it was an older woman who had fallen and passed away, and we had a motion for summary judgment, a very low offer, and then ended up settling it for high six figures after getting through all of that, and they were desperate to settle it by the end.
Yeah.
Just had another auto accident case up in Northern California. There was questionable what the insurance policies were. It was a very easy liability accident, but I had to go through and take depositions of the driver, of owner of the vehicle, try to wedge our way in to see if we can open up the policy, get up to the umbrella. And after mediation where they came and they lowballed us, sent a long demand outlaying why they're wrong, why they're looking at the case wrong. And again, quick turnaround, and they decided to tender the full $1.6 million policy.
Yep.
So those are just two that I can remember. We've obviously worked on, hundreds of cases, but it's my favorite when, an attorney's looking at the case as little liability, no liability. And then you start taking depositions and you start pointing out the holes in their theories, and
right.
And they're forced to change their minds.
Yeah. And as the witnesses are answering and you see their eyes lighting up and the light going on in their head, you go, yeah, that's what I've been trying to tell you for the last 6 months here. But yeah, no, that's what it's all about. And, obviously we try a lot of cases. We're in the courtroom a lot, but that's not always the case because that's our choice, right? Like a lot of the cases we end up trying are because the insurance company on the other side doesn't come to the realization of seeing the case the way that we see it. But the goal really is to get them to see it and to get them to pay and to settle for the right amount. And if carriers did the right thing and paid the right amount on cases, we wouldn't have to go to trial on any. But that process of really allowing the other side to see the case that they didn't see before is definitely like what it's all about, So that's great. That's awesome. And it's awesome to hear from your perspective on that. I think we have another segment that we're going to unleash upon our viewers right now, but only if you're ready. Are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It is overrated, underrated. All right, you know how this goes. I'll throw out a topic. You tell me if it's overrated or underrated and a short explanation why. All right, you ready?
Ready.
Ranch dressing.
Overrated. It's a condiment. I love myself some buffalo wings with ranch. I will say lately my 2-year-old has been just scooping it by the spoon, and it's kind of turned me off to it a little more. So I do like it, but overrated.
Expert depositions.
Overrated, but also underrated. I overrated in the fact that I don't think there's been a expert deposition I've walked into where they've said something I didn't know they were going to say. Pretty rare. But obviously it's a necessary part of preparing for trial. So
seeing a movie in the theater.
It's underrated. I'm going to the movies on Saturday. Actually, I love going to the movies. It's one of the few things in today's day and age where people just put their phones down and are enjoying the same thing at the same time.
ChatGPT.
Forever underrated. I cannot get over how much it has helped me in my practice, helped me buying Christmas gifts, helped me in everything. I've been able to churn out discovery, review discovery. It's just been so helpful.
Surprise birthday parties.
Overrated. I feel like most of the time people just end up finding out about it anyway. And also a lot of time the people don't want the surprise in the first place. So I say overrated.
The snooze button.
Overrated. I never use it.
Wow. Food delivery apps.
Underrated. It's pretty embarrassing how much I order food online.
I think it's embarrassing for us all. Self-deprecating humor.
Underrated. I think it's important to be able to make fun of yourself.
Agreed. I mean, look at me. Look how ugly I am. Side hustles.
Probably would have to say overrated, but I'm not really involved in any. There's a quote from Ron Swanson in Parks and Recreation. He says, "Never half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing." Right. So I got enough going on with my job to be worrying about something else.
Legal dramas on TV.
They're entertaining, but they're overrated. It is a bummer for me when people are coming up to me and like, "Oh, is this how it really goes?" And it's never the case.
You can't handle the truth.
Great movie, just not the way the legal world works.
Working from home.
I think you'll know my answer to this is underrated. If you are accountable, if you're able to hold yourself accountable, I think it's a great thing.
See, you knew I was going to sneak that in there. FaceTime calls.
Now they are overrated. I actually think talking on the phone is just something I don't really enjoy. It's like most of this could be an email or a text message, unless my wife is calling.
Right.
Then I'm taking it and I love it.
Of course. Pairing your wine with your meal.
Overrated. I think it's completely overrated. My parents are big time wine drinkers. They like pairing, and they give me one. They say, "What do you think?" I just say it's a red or it's a white. I just can't taste the difference.
Wow. You know what? I didn't know that one was going to hit so close to home, but I'm glad it did because that was our last one. And this has been Overrated, Underrated. Well done.
Thank you.
Wow. So, the whole pairing the wine thing, wow, that really, really hit a nerve there, huh?
When I say it hit a nerve, it's very nice of them to offer it. Just
yeah. But you can't, there's not even any level of oh, that one's a little fruity, that one's a little oaky. There's nothing on the palate. It's just
the way I can tell if a wine is good if it doesn't burn my throat on the way down. That's the college wine drinker in me.
Right. That's the Jose Cuervo test. What else, man? Partner. We did it. You did it. You're here. Obviously, we've talked about the work, the passion, the reason, for wanting to do it and what keeps you, kind of waking up and motivated every day. Why don't we talk a little bit about Tom Burns, the guy? If you had a free day, no work, no emails, nothing. I don't know that exists, but hypothetically, how do you spend the day? What does that look like for you?
I mean, I spend almost all my time with my wife and kids. My kids are young. They're 4 and 2. And they're such fun ages that I love taking them to the park. I love talking with them, just seeing what's going on in their mind. They say the funniest things.
Yeah.
If I'm taking a break from them, then I like to meet the buddies out on the golf course. I'm not any good at all, but I love being out there, getting that one good shot every 3 hours.
You're pretty good, dude. I've been out there with you. You can hit the ball.
I hope nobody takes that seriously, but
Tom can hit the ball.
That's fun. That's what's fun for me.
You'll catch us out at the LATLC charity golf tournament every year. Shout out LATLC. All right. Well, so then let's shift gears then. If you're looking back on the first 10 years of your practice, what is one thing, piece of advice wise, that you could give to younger attorneys to understand just in general about the profession, about what it means to be a trial lawyer?
Well, I would say that you should always just be willing to learn and asking for advice. I can't tell you how much I've learned when I was younger, not just from other attorneys, but legal assistants, paralegals, what they knew, what a proof of service is, how to file something. These are things that I ended up learning and wanted to learn just so I would know later and I would be able to teach people. But then now, 10 years down the road, there's tons of things that first, second, third year attorneys have encountered that I have never seen before, whether it be an issue with a lien or a certain type of discovery method. So, asking for help, engaging about cases, about the way you handle cases, that would be my advice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great advice too, because I mean, even for me, and I've been practicing almost 20 years, if I run into something that haven't done before, or even if I've done it before, but I know somebody else has done it a lot more than me or has a lot more experience, and you know this about me, I'm not shy. I'll fire off to whoever, whenever, question, and that, not being shy about that has served me really well.
Yeah, and you'll learn it's normal. It's even the best of attorneys will reach out to other people and say, well, "Hey, I know you've handled this type of case before. What did you do there?"
Right.
It's
because
common.
There's so much nuance and there's so much complexity to the practice and so many different layers. And even if you've tried one case, it's like trying an auto case is different than trying a premises case. And, it would be abnormal to think that somebody could do all that without seeking help.
Yeah, and you're not taught in law school how to practice law. You're taught what the law is. But like I said, you get in there and they're saying, "Oh, do this discovery and have it served by this date." And I was like, "Serve it like a platter?" Like, I don't. So I asked for help. I had a legal assistant that was incredibly helpful. I learned almost as much from her as I did from my first boss.
Right.
Just be an open book. Be ready to learn.
Yeah. Let's just hope your first boss isn't watching this. What? My legal assistant taught you more. Yeah. Yeah, buddy. He did. All right. So why don't you talk about sort of, moving forward with this big partnership announcement? What are your goals for this year and beyond? And what excites you most about this next chapter?
I mean, the ultimate goal is to keep getting successful results for our clients. And I'm really just interested in finding new ways to do that on the business end of things. And in terms of just handling my own caseload and trying to grab a little more responsibility in terms of the size of the cases, the value of the cases, and trying to handle them from A to Z. But again, everything I do is in the mind of how are we going to maximize the results for our clients?
Yep, absolutely. And now that you're stepping into the role as a partner at the firm, obviously you mentioned a lot of additional responsibilities. And what's something that, based on the thought that you've given to all this, that you are excited to bring, kind of as a new element to the firm?
Like I said, I worked for 5 firms before I was started here, solo practitioners to 20 attorney firms. So I think I do have a lot of insight into how different firms run in terms of management style, in terms of just how tasks are assigned. I mean, we recently just did a revamp of how we were having our legal assistants, paralegals handle tasks, and that was something that we had done in a prior firm that I worked for.
Right.
So just keep rethinking ways that we can have the firm assign out tasks, handle our work. That's going to keep everybody on top of things, and again, going to keep us getting good results for the clients.
Yeah, and what's in the ever evolving landscape of legal practice management, especially in this new era, like you mentioned earlier, of ChatGPT and AI and automations and CRMs and all this stuff. Like, what are ways that we can continue to grow the business and make things more efficient so that we can not only help people achieve greater results on their individual case, but also help more people overall with their cases, and do it in a really high level way. So I share that sentiment with you completely. So if you had to boil down your own recipe for professional success in your journey so far, what would be your bumper sticker slogan?
I mean, you asked me earlier, it would be the harder you work, the luckier you get. I think a lot of people
It's a good bumper sticker.
see someone achieving a lot of things, doing well in their profession, and they say, oh, that person's lucky. And I've probably said that before in the past, but that luck is a result of dedication, hard work, perseverance. And there's a reason that people are successful. People are quote unquote lucky. It's because they work hard.
Right. Absolutely. And if you had an opportunity to advertise the strategy behind achieving personal growth and happiness in life, what would be on your billboard?
This one's tough.
I know it's tough to think about being a billboard lawyer, but some of us have to pretend like we do sometimes.
I've got an idea in my head, but it's a little too long for a billboard. I'm just thinking about finding what makes you happy outside of your profession. For me, getting married and having kids was the best thing that ever happened to me. Even for my profession, for my work, it gave me more drive. So finding your inner self, finding your purpose without work, I think that's really important.
Absolutely.
Maybe just find your purpose.
Find your purpose. Find your purpose. Achieve your dreams.
That sounds pretty cheesy, but it is a billboard.
It is cheesy. Yeah, it is cheesy. That's all right. In closing, any closing thoughts about the podcast, the partnership announcement, what's ahead for the firm in 2025? Shout out to the listeners. The floor is yours.
Shout out to the listeners. Thanks for tuning in. I'm glad that some people are keeping Brad doing this thing all the time. Excited to do one maybe at the end of the year or beginning of next year, doing a recap. But
ooh, I like that idea. Write that down.
Again, I'm just very excited, very honored. I've never been a person to care about titles, whether, you're no longer an associate, now you're a senior associate, or you're not an attorney, you're a trial attorney. And that was all, to me, it was kind of whatever. But this has been really meaningful. It's something that I think more people recognize and understand. And it's felt good just to tell the small group that I have that it's happening. And they've been very happy for me.
Yeah, I'm stoked for you sincerely. And like you said earlier, this isn't a result of luck. This is something that you've earned through a lot of hard work. And it's been a pleasure to watch you grow as a trial attorney and a professional, and seeing the successes that you've had and the growth you've had with the firm. And for me, part of it is like, this is kind of just the beginning, and now I'm excited to see what lies ahead and all the, ass we're going to kick in the next few years here, and whole asses will be kicked. Thanks for coming in. Congrats again, brother.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yes. And this has been an incredible conversation. Thank you out there for listening and joining in. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff. I think it's supposed to boost the algo.
Unsubscribe, resubscribe.
Right. Just keep clicking and tagging and doing all that stuff. And we got more episodes coming in 2025, so stick with us. But for now, this has been the WallaceWins.com podcast, and we are signing off. We'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody.
Get your win at WallaceWins.com.